Good evening, folks. This is Myron from the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Tonight, I am joined by Kevin Harvey, the executive producer of RISE, and a man who probably has his hand in more women's wrestling stuff than anyone out there today. How you doing tonight?
Busy, 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 and yes, there is a lot of women's wrestling things going on right now. Really, the entire back half of this year is just go, 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 go.
I can imagine. I've seen a lot of the posts. I went through your website, but everything is women's wrestling right now. Everything is. It's the big thing. It's the hot thing.
There is a lot going on right now, and once we got to really July with the Rise 3 and then Shimmer tapings for that same weekend, it was off to the races because you looked at that, and obviously I can say this now in hindsight, a number of talents clearly went from Shimmer and Rise direct to the Mae Young Classic.
Yes. Oh, wow. That was impressive.
That's something I couldn't really say a lot about the last time we spoke, actually right before Rise 3. But a grand number of girls from that field went straight from Berwyn, Illinois, or Chicago, Illinois, from the airport to the Mae Young Classic. And now that has all been, it's in the footage is in the can. It's been on WWE Network, and a whole lot of good things happened, and a lot of suspiciously familiar footage in those video packages.
Yes. I think I saw you in the credits, or Rise in the credits on some of that stuff, didn't I?
I honestly, I don't know if I watched it quite that closely, but
I know I saw Shimmer.
It's something where I would say north of 90% of the footage used in video packages, and really all the footage that was used in packages from I think it was 14 Shimmer talent in all of that 32-woman field. Huge, almost half the field had experience in Shimmer, and to see those video packages of what Shimmer's done over the years was just a huge point of pride for all of us involved.
Oh, I can imagine. The biggest stage there is for women's wrestling, and y'all are so well represented. And even though you've got a lot of people from the Mae Young coming up on your next show.
There are a number of people from the Mae Young Classic, or that people may know from the Mae Young Classic, who are actually coming up on Rise 5 and Rise 6.
Yes. You got Nicole Savoy, you got Rachel Ellering, and then on the one you're doing in California for 6, you've got one that she's not going to be wrestling. Toni Storm.
No,
I'm
she's
sorry
wrestling.
about that. Yeah, she's going to be wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man. That's great. You've got a lot of big names on top of the fact you've got a WWE Hall of Famer.
We've got a lot going on in these next few shows, and the Berwyn and the Los Angeles events in LA County and Southgate, California. The term stacked definitely comes to mind, and $10, I think, for a general admission ticket is clear evidence that I am absolutely insane.
It's by far the best deal in wrestling out there today, man. I looked at the card. I looked at the talent on your show coming up. It's November 10th in Berwyn, Illinois, the Rising Sun. And the whole it's that incursion to the Phoenix title. That's the really, really intriguing part. And it's that the whole concept of that match, which is something between a Royal Rumble and almost a elimination match combined. It's insane, man.
Well, when you look at the word incursion, we threw out what the match name was probably a couple of weeks before we actually broke down what was this match going to be. And Rise 5 is to the day. No, it is the 1-year anniversary show. Rise 1 Ignite was November 10th, 2016 in the Berwyn Eagles Club. Rise 5 Rising Sun is November 10th, 2017 in the Berwyn Eagles Club. So we wanted to do a couple of things that were very, very special for this show, as we try to do for all of our shows. But for a 1-year anniversary, what could we do? Well, November 10th is also the birthday of the Phoenix of Rise Championship. Mm-hmm. That title was not even known to be in existence until we informed the girls competing in the match that it would be for a new championship, the Phoenix of Rise. And what could we do that sort of rewarded some of those that were a core part of what we have done for the first several Rise events and the one Gain event that we did as well? And what was a matchup that would have some intrigue and make some sense? And so we came up with the incursion of the Phoenix, and you're right. If the if a Royal Rumble and a six-pack challenge and an elimination match had some sort of relations and had a child, it would end up being the incursion of the Phoenix, where, without going too much into a sermon, it's 6 girls. Phoenix of Rise champion Shotzi Blackheart will be defending against the original other 5 members of the Rise roster. So that is Britt Baker and Chelsea Green of Fire and Nice.
Yeah, a little
the
bit of a
Fallen
tag
Flower
team.
Kikyo, Delilah Doom, and the first Phoenix of Rise champion, Dust. And the way this match is going to work is it's really luck of the draw. The champion has no advantage. Whatever they draw, we start with numbers 1 and 2. Then 2 minutes go by. Out comes entrant number 3. Then 3 minutes go by. So if you end up drawing that coveted last entry, the other competitors will have wrestled 2 minutes, then 3 makes 5, then 4 makes 9, then 5 make, like, the math adds up to where that person who draws the last number could have a tremendous advantage, and it's elimination, so who knows who's even going to be left at that point. There's a lot of different things that could happen in this match that I think, from a fan's perspective, should make things very interesting. We've seen a literal blood feud now for Shotzi and Dust. We called Rise 3 the last dance with them, last one-on-one dance. This was something that I really wanted to make those roster spots mean something for Rise, and that's why I wanted to have the original 6 girls in the main event, because we've added to the roster. The roster is 8 deep now. We did add Deonna Purrazzo. We did add Jules Malone after their stand-up performances in Rise 3.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're looking to add more depth to that roster. I'm not going to commit to a number, but I would say I want to add at least one more person to the roster from the seminar pool in Rise 5, and the same for Rise 6, because I want these seminars themselves to mean something as well. And I want to incentivize girls that are going to possibly travel long distances and pay for these seminars and work with the legends and the top independent talent that we have available to us. I want them to have something that they're working for, not just, the knowledge. The knowledge is great. Like, I take nothing away from the value of just going and doing the seminar, but I want girls to take the seminars as a way to get their name out there, as a way to elevate their status in the wrestling world. And I think if we incentivize that, as we're starting to do things internationally now, we run one event in the United Kingdom. I want that roster spot to mean something. I want a girl to want to make that roster to get some of these opportunities that have been really great in our first year. And there's some very, very cool potential that I can't let cats out of bags yet. But there's some really cool stuff lining up for year 2 right now.
That's incredible. I was talking to a local female wrestler, and I'm like, they got a seminar coming up. You've got to get to this. I can't emphasize how big an opportunity this is. And she's like, oh, I don't have the money to do that. I'd love to. And I'm like, it's not that expensive. Are you insane? For the amount of exposure you get, it's a bargain.
And another way I can look at that too, and obviously I have a biased opinion because I'm the person marketing and theoretically making money off of this thing, but here's the way I'd look at it if I were a talent. Rise 5 is Medusa. Now, Myron, do you know how much training Medusa has ever done in terms of I am a wrestling trainer in her career and where she's done it?
I'm not familiar with a lot, to be honest with you.
To the best of my knowledge, the only training of wrestlers Medusa has ever done was as a guest coach at the WWE Performance Center a few months back.
Yeah, that's a pretty big place, too.
So you've got a person of Medusa's caliber who no one can
Hall of
argue
Fame.
is one of, if not the most influential women in the history of professional wrestling.
The top 3, if not Mae Young and Fabulous Moolah.
You've got a true Joshi legend who we aren't able to say who that is at that time, but I will say if you look at the poster, there's no red herring, there's no attempt at misdirection. Like, the hints seem pretty obvious because it's exactly who you probably think it is. But you're not flying to Japan to train with this person who's never trained in the United States. And then add to that Rise 6, you've got not just Medusa, you've got cheerleader Melissa, and you've got Bull Nakano coming out of retirement, not to wrestle, but specifically to train for Rise. And I don't know if maybe there's a younger generation who might not understand the magnitude of that, but anybody who was a wrestling fan in, say, the early to mid-90s, that was the women's match. And not just in WWE. Like, they had matches in Japan. They fought all over, and those were some brutal contests that stand the test of time. I just watched one 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah, you put that to YouTube, folks. That's definitely worth watching, I'm telling you. You got this massive amount of talent, man. That's what impresses me. You've had Tom Pritchard training. You've had Saraya Knight training. You've had Colt Cabana training. Now you've got Medusa. Then you got Bull Nakano and Medusa coming up. That's a lot. That's shocking, the amount of training you're getting out there for the price you're offering for it.
That's the idea, is to offer training that is either unique combinations of people or people who are just not available or have not been available outside of seminars like RISE. Like Medusa doesn't have a wrestling school. Bull Nakano, what training she has done has been all for talents in Japan. Cheerleader Melissa has never formally done a wrestling training school setting. I mean, I think she's run some different camps, and she's certainly been part of developing a next generation. But when you look at what we've got on the line for RISE 6 as well, we have Melissa, who is the president of Stardom USA, Medusa, who is the commissioner of Stardom Japan, and we have actively stated, and this is with Stardom's blessing, that we are scouting for Stardom because of the representation that they have there in Los Angeles that weekend. Now add to that Bull Nakano, who, if you're going to question anyone's influence in women's wrestling in Japan, that's the last person you should question. It's Bull effing Nakano.
Yes, sir. It's amazing. And you went to England for the last show. I have not watched that one yet. You just announced it was out, right?
Yeah, right now it is about to be on DVD. It was RISE 4. It was a co-promotion with Bellatrix in the UK, the female companion product to World Association of Wrestling, the Knight family's wrestling company that they own. That is their full-time, that is their bread and butter family business. So there was a big Bellatrix WAW double shot. So we ended up making it a co-op or a co-promoted event. So it was RISE 4 and Bellatrix 26, which we called Warriors Rise, which was live on iPay-per-view on September 15th and is coming to DVD. Actually, I have the DVD and the Blu-ray. They are ready to go. In fact, some of them are on the desk in front of me right now. We're still in the creation process of the merchandise, so people can order those now, and they can actually pick those up at RISE 5 if they are going to be at the event. So any ticket holders, if you want to pick up the DVD or the Blu-ray, put in the order, and we will have one with your name on it at the front door when you get there. And all others, I'm actually going to try to start shipping some by the end of this week. I may even do it in the next day or two here. Well, who knows when? I'm not sure when this episode's going to drop. But if you order it at the store at WrestlingPipeline.com, worst case scenario, we'll actually start shipping out the pre-ordered DVDs that need shipping after the Shimmer weekend is done. So November 13th, they'll start shipping. Worst case scenario. I'm going to try to push that up, though, because we now know, like, yep, the DVDs are done, the Blu-rays are done. We're just waiting to basically physically assemble the packages, and then we can start sending those out.
Wow, that's one of the things. It's such a great to be able to watch that high caliber of women's wrestling. And I downloaded the iPay-per-view for the number 3 for Medic, the one we had talked about. We talked about it a little bit in your seminar that we did. I did your seminar on commentating 101, which was invaluable to me. It actually helped me build my confidence back up after a couple of bad interviews just threw me off. And actually, the next week I got my most downloaded interview of all time.
Nice.
Thanks for that. Yes, I hit one out of the park the next week with a woman's talent. Harlow O'Hara, she's local down here. Really nice young woman. She's got a lot going for her, and she's getting through, the business right now. She got to travel. She got to go to Ireland. You got to go to England. Are you finding that international women's wrestling are getting out of the country is the best experience they can get? Is it good for the talent?
I think any additional experience is good for the talent, and any wrestling talent can benefit from exposure, working new places, working in matches against new people. And that's the whole point of what we do, to get people in new situations, to help them find things that maybe they wouldn't have found working, staying close to their local promotion. If we just use RISE 4 as the example, there were 9 U.S. talents in total. There were eight people wrestling on the card that were provided by RISE. And then we also had Medusa for number 9 as a special guest appearance on the show. For that sampling of girls, for 3 of them, that was their first time they had ever traveled to the United Kingdom. For others, it was maybe a trip back, but a larger venue or a larger audience, a different kind of production. Because I know you said you haven't seen it, Myron, but I think a lot of people will be floored by the production that was Rise 4 in Bellatrix 26. Full TV studio, pyrotechnics. There was something like 100 feet of LED walls. When I'm saying pyrotechnics, I'm not talking about like Gilbert and the Sparklers. Like I'm talking like fire bombs and some crazy. The entrance alone, and I'm not exaggerating. The entrance alone for the main event, which was Rosemary and Dust taking on Aaron Angel and El La Luna. So it was Team Sigma or Paradise Lost, as they're known here in the States, versus Team Angelics. The entrance alone for Paradise Lost got a legitimate standing ovation from the live audience.
Just the entrance.
Just the entrance, and I'm pretty sure there was a "This is awesome" chant, or "That was awesome" chant.
Yeah, I love those.
And all they did was walk to the ring. That's all that happened. Match of the night, Sigma's entrance.
Wow. And I can't wait to find out what happened with that one, because she had so much good heat coming out of 3. So that'll be great to see. But working in England, was it a different community? What kind of experience did you get that made it different?
Well, just traveling internationally, there's different cultural things that I think any talent will get working in front of a different crowd or performing in front of a different crowd. Like, I think most wrestling fans know the example of Japanese wrestling fans are oftentimes very, very quiet compared to a North American style. It's not that doesn't mean that the match is bad. It's more of a culture of respect. They're actually taking in what they're seeing, and it's a different way that you have to perform to connect with that audience, to still take them on those emotional highs or the pops, if you will. And working in England, I would say, at least in the town we were in Norwich, England, and the Norwich fans are what I would consider good old-fashioned wrestling fans. They didn't care. I don't think there was a whole lot of people in that crowd that necessarily cared to or would go out of their way to find a dirt sheet or anything online. I think these were people who are just as apt to buy a ticket because a poster has a talent that looks really cool as they are to be like, oh, this is the person that this contract, and that it's not a stats crowd. They want to just go there. They want to cheer the good guys. They want to boo the bad guys, and they just want to have a good, entertaining time. And I think that's what we gave them.
That's awesome, because that's the main thing I tell people about wrestling is stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to follow the talent. Stop trying to figure out their every relationship or when they're sick or why they're not feeling a certain way or if they're on Vince McMahon's good side or bad side. Just watch the product. Suspend your disbelief. Enjoy it.
And working in front of these different types of fans or these different geographic areas, that's going to help all the talent evolve. And that's really why RISE exists, is to not just put on good shows. Like I've said from the beginning, RISE is an education and a training product first. It just so happens that our shows have also evolved, and they've come along to be really entertaining as we've found that right mix of featured talents, girls who have been identified as on our roster, and then picking those top prospects that we find out of the seminars has made for some really solid shows. Now, 4, a little bit different because it was a co-promoted thing, and it was basically about half Rise girls and half Bellatrix girls, so there was a lot of kind of us versus them matches on the shows. And then we had Shotzi versus Delilah for the Phoenix of Rise Championship, and there were a couple of Bellatrix feuds and stories that were contained within that show or paid off within that show. And 3, well, you've seen 3, so I'll ask you, what are you thinking coming out of Rise 3? Now, have you had a chance to actually watch it bell to bell?
I've seen part. I have not gotten to watch the whole thing. I watched a couple of things I really wanted to see. My main comments are, you killed at the ending. I'm not gonna drop it and let other people know exactly what happened, but that was awesome. There were so many those cliffhanger-esque type moment where you didn't know what was happening there at the ending. That's wonderful. It made me want to watch the next one. It made me want to watch the next one because it's gripping. You get people involved. People want to know what's going to happen next time, and that's something you don't get in every promotion these days. That's important.
It is, and it's something where when you're looking at trying to make it a viable live event and a DVD, Blu-ray, or video on demand, however people acquire video, there's got to be a reason to want to buy a ticket to the next show or buy that next DVD, because not every fan's going to make it to Berwyn, to Southgate, to Norwich, England, wherever we may roam. But they can pop a DVD in the DVD player. They can hit download now at WrestlingPipeline.com.
And that's super easy. Buying from that store and just having it straight to your computer it's easy as Netflix.
Yeah, and the video on demands are $10 a shot, so you don't have to fly anywhere. You don't have to buy a ticket. It's the same cost as our general admission ticket, but you get to watch the show 100 times if you want to. You download it, the file's yours.
Yeah, and with y'all being in Illinois and me being in Atlanta, it's the best way for me to get it as soon as possible, where I can see what happened and see the talent I like. And I'd like to see, there's people I discovered through talking to you and in the RISE program that I've gotten to see live. Kikyo live. I saw her in Porterdale. She wrestled on a show down there. She came up to Georgia to do a show, and it was amazing. She worked the heel angle. She had the entrance drawn out. She had people. She didn't even get to the ring, and she already had people booing her. And then she worked this brutal match with another female wrestler, and it was captivating. She does good work, just solid work, and she's just a hard ass, for lack of a better word. I know you've had Dementia DeRose on some of the shows. I've seen her live a couple of times. She's awesome. It was a great learning experience for me to get introduced to all this talent and start trying to make my way to shows that they're on. It's a great platform.
And that's what we want to give the girls. You take a girl like Kikyo. Kikyo is one of those. I had never heard of the Fallen Flower Kikyo before I got an email about Rise 1. And to her credit, she immediately made herself stand out from the pack because she was giving us promos when we asked for them. And not just a promo, she gave multiple for the first Rise. If you look on our YouTube channel and go back to those Rise 1 social media campaigns or the YouTube videos, she had 2 or 3 for the first Rise, not even knowing what it was or if she'd even have a spot on the card necessarily. But she started to show us how bad she wanted it, because little things like giving us a promo, even if we don't end up airing it. There's a lot of promos that talent sent me that are on the cutting room floor, but just the effort, trying to get out of the comfort zone, trying to do something new, trying to show us some character, show some effort beyond throwing money down for a seminar. On top of that, promoting the show, using her social media, making sure that flyers are shared, making sure that different videos that we share. Like Kikyo did a lot of work to just show us that she wanted to be there and that she cared. And quite frankly, after just what we saw at Rise 1 and then the absolute beating she took with pleasure from Saraya Knight at Rise 2 Ascent at our first Los Angeles event, that girl very much earned a roster spot. That night alone, that night alone at Rise 2. But when we looked at everything, she was somebody who seemed to kind of get what the potential was for Rise, and that it wasn't just some cash grab seminar. It wasn't just going to be a this day thing. Yet nobody knew what Rise was going to be at that first one. But after we did the first one, then a second one becomes easier. A third one, we start to find out who we are and cement what we want to be a little bit. And now 4 is in the books. 5 is in less than a week and a half from the point we're recording this, and 6 is only 3 weeks behind that.
Yeah, that's a quick turnaround for 6, man. That's I'm basically nauseated by the smell of spare time, so we're going to do a show 3 weeks later. Well, that's the thing. I will follow you on Facebook and Twitter, and you have to be one of the busiest people on earth. Because when you're not doing this, you're traveling and working on other things. You've got road seminars. You've got the online seminars that I took, which I thought was great. What is this road seminar? You're coming here to Atlanta, right?
Yes, we are. Actually, in January, we are doing our second and third formal outings of what we're calling the Rise on the Road series. So, what
Mm-hmm.
Rise on the Road is, they are standalone seminars. There are not live events tied to them. They are significantly lower cost seminars compared to the world class development seminars
Mm-hmm.
that precede our live events. Those aren't going away. This is an additional learning tool that we're putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
We actually started this concept. We piloted it at a couple of different places in some wrestling schools locally, and then
Mm-hmm.
rolled it out with Sabotage in Texas. So
Mm-hmm.
October 13th, we started Rise on the Road in Austin, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
where we did a seminar that was largely focused on the art of the promo, and then also delving a little bit into persona and how to portray those larger than life characters in the
Mm-hmm.
ring and some of the things that involve there. And I won't say it all here because otherwise I'm giving away my seminar. But had a lot of fun, was very appreciative of the promoters, Brian Cervantes and Thunder Rosa, for having
Mm-hmm.
me down to kind of do a little experiment and see what would happen. And we ended up having 16 girls in all attend the first Rise on the Road in Austin.
Nice.
And then, as you brought up, coming up in January, on January 18th, we're doing a nighttime promotion. That's a Thursday night with One Fall Power Factory
Yes.
in the Atlanta area.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I need to update the graphics. If you're following us on our website or our social media, they actually just relocated
Yes.
facilities, or they
Yes.
just moved to a new facility. So I'll get the address updated
A
on our
much,
website.
much nicer facility. I mean, it's a good bunch. I would even call them friends, that guys I see so much at shows and guys that come over to the house and record with us that go to that school, and they can't go on and on about, they just can't say enough about how QT Marshall is revolutionizing wrestling training, and Glacier coming in, and the different little things like handing them out scripts and just teaching them how to read a script and work from something like that, and the different things they're doing there. They had Cody and Brandy come by just to train for a little while they live in north of Atlanta, but they had them come out to Buford, to the place out there to train. The bigger names are just filtering through that place right now, like it was. And then they've got another show coming up in December where they've got huge names going to be on the show. They're going to run one of their own seminars, and then run one of their live shows, their first ever live show coming up. So you picked a great group of guys to work with. I've seen QT.
And QT is great. It did not take a whole lot of effort other than just reaching out and having the communication with QT Marshall. Made it very, very easy. The doors were open and welcome, and we set the date very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
One of his students is actually coming to the next couple of RISE seminars. So it's something where I know there's a pocket of girls in Atlanta or within reach of Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
Like I know QT's got some girls. Then there's girls like Super Pereira's in the general area.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Dementia's in that general area. And I'm sure there's a number of them I'm forgetting, but I know there's like 6 to 8 girls who I've worked with from the metro Atlanta area. So it just made sense. Well, why don't we go where we know there's at least a built-in network of girls that we've worked with before that we want to give some additional training or invest in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, it's not the closest place to say Orlando, but if there's a car that wants to pile up for Florida kids that wants to come in, maybe it's worth a trip to split the tank of gas. Because these seminars, we're doing 4 hours for $40 on these ones. So that's these particular seminars are with me, focusing on things that are more in my realm, though there is in-ring activity. It's not me teaching wrestling because nobody's going to benefit from that. It's getting into me asking them to do certain things and talking a little bit about it. It's just a different filter, a different lens that they can look through, or a different way to think about it. So we've got that coming up, the Rise on the Road in Atlanta. And then we're going back to Austin on January 19th. So we're in Atlanta on Thursday, flying over to Austin on Friday for another seminar with Sabotage. And then I don't know where the hell I'm going after that, quite honest. But I know I've got those 2 seminars. That much I do know. But we're the Atlanta, Georgia market, and then back to Austin, Texas.
That's a good little run there, because I know Texas has always been a hotbed for wrestling. It's that Texas mentality. I mean, those guys out there are tough and independent. And Atlanta is the old WCW hotbed. It's a great place. There's a women's promotion we go see here. They draw big names to it. So there's a lot of women. Atlanta's the hub for the world. If you're going to get in an airplane, you go through Atlanta eventually.
Well, honestly, it's a great place to travel too. It was cheaper to actually fly from Chicago to Atlanta and then to Texas than it was just to go Chicago to Texas.
Oh,
I'm not sure on what planet that makes sense, but apparently it's Earth, because flying to multiple cities was cheaper than just buying the one by a staggering amount.
Yeah. Atlanta's the biggest airport in the world, and we're right on every major interstate. So if talent wants to come in, it's going to be very reasonable out in Gwinnett County, where the show is going to be. Their new school is. There's hotels everywhere. It's a very nice. It's the county I live in. It's a very safe, very metropolitan. It's a massive suburb of Atlanta. Is all it is. The whole entire county could be one giant city. And if women want to come up for that, it's probably the easiest way, or from any other state, to get into a show. It's a short distance from anywhere in the world, pretty much.
And I know there's other girls in that Atlanta market where maybe it hasn't worked out for them to get to Chicago or Los Angeles or places where we've had RISE seminars. Like, I get that it's not the easiest thing to buy a plane ticket or to spend lots of money on gas or tolls and get yourself places. So that's why I'm trying to expand the training and go to areas where we know there are talents. Because I said several different times, I think it's ignorant for RISE to say we want to be a worldwide pipeline of talent for independent wrestling, but only seeking talents in Berwyn, Illinois, or Southgate, California. We actually have to see what's out there and get ourselves on the map, quite literally, and we may discover some additional talents. We may find people that we want to find a way to get them to our seminars to take a better look in the future, see what more they have. But this is a way where we can provide more training at a better cost, at a way lower cost for the talent. And we might also identify some folks we might not otherwise meet if we didn't do something.
Definitely. Well, I mean, you can't get out to every wrestling show in the country. I can't even get to all the wrestling shows in Atlanta because there's shows everywhere. There's people on cards all over the place. Is there a particular way that you pick talent out in the local area? Do you go to a lot of indie shows?
Anymore, I don't go to a lot of indie shows outside of maybe the metro Chicago area where I'm based. But it's something where if I'm able to get to an area and I can spend a couple of days there, I'll try to get to the different shows. Or if I know people that are on those, I want to see as much talent as we possibly can. There's something where there may be people that could benefit from whatever value they find in my perspective. And there may be some hidden gems out there that I may not find, because not as much as it's a reflexive thing to say, oh, go to my YouTube channel or go to my Twitter. The internet's here and it's here to stay, but not everyone has the savvy to turn on their iPhone and film a 4K video and upload it to YouTube with lower third graphics. Sometimes the only way you might see that person is to go to a show that they're on, and maybe that's something we can help them with.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
definitely.
they have a talent. Maybe they have that little spark that we want to pour some gas on and see if we can't get that to flame up.
That's the one.
Not everybody's going to be this viral sensation.
Yeah, definitely. That's the hardest thing about, we do a lot of interviews with a lot of indie talent, and you're going to sit down. It's like, okay, let me find out a little bit more about that person. Google. And they got nothing. You go to Cage Match. They got nothing. So you start going to, and YouTube is one of the few places you can just about find something on anybody there. But some of these people, it's cryptic. They don't have a lot of press. They don't have a lot of material out there. So they got to get to these seminars. They got to find some way to get themselves exposed to this kind of stuff, or nobody will see them.
And look at the talents that we've discovered through our seminars. They're RISE 1. I probably talked about this the last time. Of all the girls that were on RISE 1, that was 40 women in that seminar. There was probably 5 or fewer that I had any awareness of before they came to the seminar that day. And now look at folks like Delilah Doom, Shotzi Blackheart, Kikyo.
Delilah Doom made it on Raw the other day.
Did she? I honestly didn't see it.
Yeah, she had a squash match with, I think it was Nia Jax. They put over their massive talent like that.
Oh, did they do that again? Because I know she had one a while ago.
It must have been a while ago then. Yeah. I have no concept of time. That's one of my problems.
It's just another day that ends in Y.
Yes, and then I go to work and I do this. I do the same thing every day. I come home, do the same thing at home, and then I talk to wrestling people, which is one of the great joys of my life. Is how nice the wrestling community has been to us. It's amazing. Some of the nicest people in the world in wrestling, and I think you did so much to help us get, for lack of a better, get over with the women's wrestling community, because we're just a couple of strange guys sitting in their basements with a with a webcam and a microphone, and a lot of people don't want to talk to us. But the fact that I got to talk to you, I got to talk to Kikyo, I got to talk to Dust, and I just started getting more and more women to interview, and I've met some amazing talent, and it's been such a great thing. Once you get inside and people realize you're okay, you can talk to them, and they'll talk to you, and they'll come up to you at a show and say, "Hi, how you doing?" They'll come up to my kids and say hello to them. Independent wrestling is such a unique place right now, man. It's been wonderful for me, just my experience.
That's just a wonderful thing about independence, and it's something where obviously WWE is the big show in town, and I mean no ill against WWE. Yeah. I always say that. It's different. It is the major touring act. It is something where most people aren't, if you compare it to, say, music, most people aren't going to be able to meet Justin Bieber at the merch table if he's playing the Allstate Arena in Chicago. It's going to be something where you're going to get a great, entertaining show, but it's a certain caliber and the talent's on a certain pedestal. Whereas on the independents, you might see Chelsea Green have a match with Kikyo.
Yeah.
And then 15 minutes later, they aren't even out of their gear. They're over at the merchandise table shaking your hand and selling you a picture because they appreciate that you are there. We don't have the glory in something like a Rise or a Shimmer of being this global household name with marketing machines behind us. Like this is grassroots. This is feet on pavement, taping up or tacking up posters. This is doing what we can to promote online. And it's something where we need to let all of our fans know we appreciate each and every one of you, because everything you do helps us, whether that be the ticket you buy, the T-shirt you go home with and then wear everywhere around, whether that be a company shirt or a talent shirt or both, the pictures that you accumulate, like every dollar or every penny that you spend that goes toward independent wrestling, be it a talent or a company, helps the entire thing keep moving. Because I doubt I'm going to shock anyone when I say no one at Rise is making a dazzling array of cash and prizes when it comes to their pay envelope. But we do have very appreciative fans who typically do visit many of the girls at the merchandise table, and that's a way that everybody wins in that scenario. Fans get shirts that they really, really like, or pictures that they really, really like, or DVDs. That helps us get some advertising, because people might ask you, what's that shirt?
Yes. I love wearing my indie shirts.
I wore my Britt Baker Britsburg t-shirt to the dentist, and some fans will appreciate the irony in that. But the dentist actually asked me, like, hey, well, what's that shirt? I said, well, it's funny you should ask. This is my fake daughter, and she's going to be a dentist real soon. Like,
yep.
But just it sparks conversation. Like, what's a Britsburg? What's what is a dust? Like, what are these things? And it kind of ignites that curiosity. And without fans going out of their way to get to these shows, to just shake hands with the talents and meet them and support them, it means the world to us. It may sound cliche, but we absolutely mean that. Like, I could not do anything with Rise without the many fans supporting us in the many ways that they do.
Thunder Rosa is an example of that. I saw her live in Atlanta. I just had seen her on the internet and all that and TV. And so I come up to her and start talking to her. And she is so down to earth and so nice and so friendly. She did an 8x10, signed an 8x10. I'm working on a little wall of 8x10s, signed 8x10s, because I think that's just awesome. It doesn't even matter who the wrestler is. I'm just getting the name, getting it out there, and getting some posters up. That just makes me feel more bonded to the talent. But she was so nice, talked to me for a while. We talked about doing some interviews. It's amazing how friendly these people are in real life. I wish I could have time to stop and talk to everybody there, because there's a lot of really great talent upcoming in wrestling, especially on the women's side. There's more and more tournaments popping up everywhere. There's more and more women's wrestling promotions popping up. And you're right there on the forefront of the talent discovery business. I mean, y'all have a really unique product you've got. And the next day after your shows, that's the Shimmer show still, right?
Yeah, Rise 5, November 10th, and then Shimmer Volumes 96 through 99 will tape on the 11th and the 12th. So that's 5 shows of women's wrestling in 3 days.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work. And I just pulled up the poster for Rise 5, and it's like looking into a kaleidoscope of women's wrestlers, and we don't even have everybody on this poster. There's at least one person I can tell you I have not advertised in any way, shape, or form yet, and there's maybe a third of the prospective talent pool from the seminar on that poster. Maybe a third.
Well, you pull a lot of different women from all over the world, all over the country. You pull every different shape and size from, Dust is 95 to 100 pounds to some of the bigger ladies coming in. You get a great variety. It's like a cornucopia of women's wrestling. No one certain style. Not every match is the same. You get a different bit out of each one of them. It's a really good mix. Now,
just looking at this poster, I mean, we have talent from Canada. We have coast to coast U.S. We have 2 Joshis on this poster I'm looking at the one that doesn't have the obscured shadows right now, so I got to make sure I don't slip and
don't say anything.
Names.
Don't say anything secret yet.
You've got Thunder Rosa on there, who a lot of folks may know as Cobra Moon from Lucha Underground. And then just looking at some of the seminar girls that are on here, I see East Coast, I see Pacific Northwest, I see Southeastern United States, I see Texas. I see Australia. We've got some new Australians that are going to be debuting at Rise 5.
A lot of Australians on NXT right now. A lot of Australians.
And a lot of them in the independent scene as well. I mean, looking at Shimmer has had many Australian talents over the year. Madison Eagles, one of the main talents of Shimmer. Former Shimmer champion. You've got current Heart of Shimmer champion Shaz McKenzie. You've got some of the different Australians that have come through over the years that have gone on to NXT currently. You've got former Shimmer champion Kelly Skater. Like, the list goes on and on. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody who will probably slap me later. But it's the thing when you've worked with 45,000 women over the years, it's hard to name drop everybody. But Australia's had a lot of talent that has been a core part of Shimmer and of Rise. In fact, one of the Australian talents, Charlie Evans, was on Rise 4 in the UK.
Yes, she is super nice too. I've messaged her back and forth talking about stuff, and I bought an 8x10 off of her. We have some friends that do an English show, and I'm like, why don't you book these people? She's awesome, and they don't really do women's wrestling. I don't understand why not, because if you want talent, you want people that'll be nice to you. You want people that'll give you a good interview. It's so easy because women are natural talkers. I've never had a dead air interview with a female wrestler because they've always got something to say. The men are sitting there like they're mutes sometimes, but the women wrestlers always give a good interview, and they give you a lot of insight into who they are. They talk about what makes them wrestle, where they get their inspiration from, and they usually, if you go to a show, they put on the best matches. You watch a Raw, if they ever let the women on TV anymore, they always have the best matches. I don't understand why they're stifling them now. They push women so hard, and it seems like now they're kind of ran out of stuff to do with them. You also had a great fundraiser for Puerto Rico, didn't you? With the T-shirts?
Yeah, we did. We did the Rise Puerto Rico shirts. We'd recently done our UK merchandise, where it was the Union Jack inside of the Rise logo. And when the tragedies happened in Puerto Rico with the hurricane, there's, without dropping names, there's some very key talents to what we do who had family who they had not yet heard from due to the devastation, and phone lines and phone towers and things not just being quite literally knocked out of commission. And we wanted to do what we could to raise some funds and help out. So we made a special edition of the Rise logo with the Puerto Rican flag inside of the Rise logo. And I would love to have said we sold a lot of units, but we sold a handful of shirts, and we were able to send a little chunk of change over. And we did have an anonymous third party that was actually matching donations 2 for 1, or 2 for every dollar.
Wow.
So, what was a fairly small amount of money we were able to raise in terms of the profit from those shirts, which we did donate 100% of that. because of that third party, we were able to make a little bit bigger impact for what we wanted to do for Puerto Rico.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that was such a horrible situation. And
Still is.
Yeah. I don't know if they're anywhere near coming back from that. And that's also been a great wrestling community for so long that most people did not know about all the bookings and the territories that went on down there. Some great wrestling stories. And it's a shame all that happened, but it's always good to see the wrestling community. Quite a few other promotions did things, and people, really got out there and helped. And that's one of the refreshing things about wrestling. You got any secrets up your sleeve? You got anything special planned coming up? You got any more shows?
I've always got something up my sleeve. I think for almost every Rise now, there's been something unexpected or a talent that people weren't counting on. There is Rise 1. We ended up having the skilled death artist unmasked to be Nicole Matthews, who was an unadvertised appearance. Rise 2, we had some fun with the Saraya Night Gauntlet. Rise 3. Saraya was not announced as even in the country until a day before, so we've done a lot of different things, and we've got two relative. I don't know that surprise is quite the right word, because we have right now on the posters the images are obscured as a shadow or a silhouette. We do have a true all-time Joshi legend who some describe as Joshi royalty, and I don't find that inaccurate.
Wow.
And one of today's absolute top Joshi, one of the top women stars in Japan. We've got all kinds of stuff. There's at least one more international talent that we have not yet announced. I'm hoping to actually confirm the details today or tomorrow. By the time this airs, that cat might be out of the bag, but especially when you're dealing with internationals, you want to make sure you tidy up details like, what day are they getting in the country before you advertise them for anything. So we're trying to tidy up that detail. And then for Rise 6, Brutality, for a show that already has a lot of craziness, there are a couple of things that we haven't really hinted at too strongly yet. So we know we have Shimmer champion Mercedes Martinez, the World of Stardom champion Toni Storm. They're facing each other. A match that everyone probably wanted in the Mae Young Classic is happening at Rise 6, Brutality.
Wow.
We have Shotzi Blackheart, the Phoenix of Rise champion, taking on Chris Wolf from Stardom in Japan. We have Lufisto taking on Dust in a barbed wire match.
Ouch.
And there is at least one more match worthy of the name Brutality that we have really not done any sort of hinting at right now. And then I'm still not letting the cat out of the bag on this one, but Jimmy Jacobs is somebody who's been in the news lately and is one of my oldest and dearest friends in wrestling.
Yes.
He was in the audience for the first show I ever announced, and I ring announced his first ever wrestling match. So he and I go back a long, long way. And now with him being available to the independents, Jimmy Jacobs will be on hand at Rise 6. What that means, that could mean a lot of things. Jimmy's known for a lot of different hats that he's worn at some pretty high levels in professional wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
And he will be on hand, and I'm right on the cusp of announcing why, I believe.
Yeah. Folks, if you don't recognize that name right off the top of your head, just Google Bullet Club selfie. Big event he got into recently. Yes. He's I was wanting to make sure I was familiar with him before we did the interview, and I Googled him, and Wikipedia is my favorite thing. He's done everything and been everywhere.
That he has. He's the first impression I ever had of him. He was just starting to referee. He did anything he could to get involved in wrestling. He would run cameras. He would film with his camcorder local wrestling shows and sell them on his website he had at the time. He's been a wrestler everywhere. The Age of the Fall was a major angle in Ring of Honor, and a lot of that was Jimmy's creative input that made that happen. So just having Jimmy there is going to be huge. And I will say part of what Jimmy is doing there is I've asked him to be one of the producers of the show in terms of the actual creation of the event. And he, until very recently, was creating television content for WWE. So when we're talking about different ways for people to learn, there's a lot of learning that's going to happen after the seminar with Medusa, Bull Nakano, and cheerleader Melissa has come to its end. There's a lot more learning yet to come. Yeah,
you can go to an independent show. We've got a couple that we're on backstage terms with, and just the amount of you can watch people putting on just the stuff, the production, and how these things come about It's a lot more work than most people realize. And it's a really good learning experience. But where do we find these updates from you? Where are we going to find out who's going to be on the card? Where do we go?
Well, there's a lot of different ways you can find it. Our website is wrestlingpipeline.com. That's where you can find information on our seminars and upcoming events, including our Rise on the Road and our online seminars, because there's a lot of learning we offer right through your internet connection, just through like what we're doing, whether that be over video chats and things. A lot of ways we can make the learning happen. So that's where you'll find all our seminars, our live events. You can get through the store right there. Just click on the button that says store, or almost anything on our social media has the direct link to the store. All social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rise DTWA, as in Developing Tomorrow's Women Athletes, because that is one of the main things that we are all about. We're about developing all talents, but Rise is really the bread and butter. The Developing Tomorrow's Women Athletes is a huge, huge thing. The social media is definitely going to be one of the primary ways to follow us, and most of our website postings do automatically load into the social media as well. So a lot of times the stuff on Twitter may link you to the full article and things on the site.
Yeah, and that's what Kiki, you can't get over how important it is to have those people just retweeting everything you say, because that puts it out there in front of a whole nother set of eyes. People that do that for us, don't just like those posts, just retweet them and keep them moving. Let everybody else see them. And everything you do, it's pretty much, I see her repost it. It's like seeing it twice, reinforcing.
Well, and just looking at what we've got coming up for Rising Sun in a few days, just looking at this poster, we've got the incursion of the Phoenix. We've got the two Joshis. We've got Medusa will be on hand. We've got Rachel Ellering on the show. We've got Zoe Lucas, who we identified as the standout of the UK seminar that we did back in September. Deonna Purrazzo, Nicole Savoy has been hugely important to Rise. The entire existence, but she had her knee injury. She was supposed to be the original featured talent for Rise 1, and that's when she had torn her ACL. So to finally have Nicole Savoy wrestling in Rise 1 year to the day of when she was originally supposed to debut, she's taking on a local talent, Kylie Ray, who I'm very interested to see what she's able to pull off in the rings of Rise.
Yeah, I've seen that name before.
We've got Thunder Rosa coming in. We have in the seminar in the prospective talent pool, we have Charlie Evans and Jessica Troy. We have Indy Hartwell coming from Australia. We've got some Texans coming in. We have Hyan from Booker T's school. We've got, I'm of course blanking on names. We've got Miranda. We've got Holly Lane coming back. We have Karen Q, who's actually coming in for the seminar. There's a lot of different names that are going to be a part of this. And I think part of what makes Rise fun is we are going to have a couple of matches that we advertise, like the incursion of the Phoenix, like Nicole Savoy versus Kylie Ray. But you never know what you're going to get from that card, because we've got a lot of talent with open contracts right now. That could be talent we select from the seminar. That could be two people with open contracts get put together. I don't know that I can tell you what that's going to be yet, because we legitimately make a lot of these decisions as we watch and see what the girls have in the seminar. We go in with an idea of what we'd like to do, but a lot can change once we actually get our eyes on that seminar and see what the talent's got.
Yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity to go to a seminar and wind up on the internet wrestling and this amazing, super talented show the same day. That's a huge opportunity in the business right now.
Yeah, and just looking at people that currently do not have opponents, the Joshi are going to pick tag team partners from the seminar.
Wow.
We've got, who else has an open contract here? Cheerleader Melissa, Thunder Rosa, Deonna Purrazzo. Like, there are some people, Jules Malone, our core roster members who do not yet have opponents. So this could work out in a lot of different ways, and that's where I think the intrigue comes in. And I'm not going to go through the entire prospective talent pool, but if you go to WrestlingPipeline.com, we do actually have the prospective talent pool listed. I believe on the live events page, but there's been a couple different articles where we've updated the pool as new girls have signed up for the seminar. And just in case any girls are listening, we have, on the unfortunate side of things, there have been a few injuries for girls that were originally in the prospective talent pool who will no longer be able to take physical part in the seminar. So we do actually have two openings for the seminar with Medusa and our Joshi legend coming up on November 10th.
Medusa, WWE Hall of Famer. You've had Tom Pritchard, future WWE Hall of Famer. you get the best talent. You get the best trainers. You have people straight from the Mae Young Classic. Deonna Purrazzo, who they said, Triple H said himself, he wished he could have had her on the Classic. It's a lot of big names, man. This is exciting. This is exciting. Women's wrestling is exciting for that, man.
It's been a heck of a first year, and something that I will go back in history a little bit with RISE. When I originally was sitting down with Dave Prazak and pitching this idea of what RISE might potentially be, I threw out a name that we both kind of laughed at because we were like, yeah, right, we'll see if this pans out. That name is the Joshi legend that's coming in for RISE 5.
Ooh.
Like, I actually remember sitting at the table at the restaurant with Dave and saying, oh, we could eventually do, like, I don't know, Rising Sun with this person. One of those, I'd love to do this, but it's probably years down the road. But it turned out on our 1 year anniversary, this wild-eyed pie-in-the-sky idea bears fruit. Like, we're actually going to find out what it is. And then something that I don't know if this is interesting to you or not. There's an angle that never was. That now that things have progressed as they were, I can actually say what was going to happen at a RISE event that did not now because of the way things panned out. But at RISE 2, we had the return of the skilled death artist who attacked Saraya Knight. But now that I can tell you this feud will not be happening, we were actually trying to build to Shayna Baszler versus Saraya Knight. So when in hindsight, things that I wish could have panned out, that was actually supposed to unfold a bit at the Gain event back in March, but Shayna had to go be one of the best performers in the world and get signed by the top company in the world, and nothing but the best to Shayna. But that's something, oh man, how I wish I could have seen that come to fruition.
When you say you got a pipeline there, you really do have a pipeline, man.
That's the idea. Just looking at our relationship with Shimmer, RISE existed to basically prevent Shimmer from having the bottom fall out for talent, just in case what we can now call the Mae Young Classic ended up scooping up a lot of talent. And we've had over 20 girls who have received some sort of opportunity at Shimmer, whether that be a dark match before the tapings or main roster debuts. Just looking at girls in front of me that have actually become part of the Shimmer roster direct from RISE. Chelsea Green, Kikyo, Dust, Shotzi, Delilah Doom, Britt Baker, all discoveries through the RISE program, or we got to know them and see what they had in the seminar and identify if these are girls that we want to be part of the best brand in women's independent wrestling in Shimmer.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I want to congratulate you on your 1 year anniversary. I think you're doing amazing work, and I'm sure women's wrestling as a whole thinks the same thing.
Well, it's great to be doing what we are doing, and I'd be remiss if I did not give all the love and the credit to Shimmer for what it has done for women's wrestling over the years, for what Dave and for what Allison Danger, Lexi Fife, and everybody tied to Shimmer has done. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say follow Shimmer as well, because that's what we're all doing, is trying to build the best possible brands of women's wrestling through this pipeline of talent. So get your tickets for Shimmer 96 through 99 at shimmerwrestling.com. Or you can follow them on all their social media at Shimmer Women. Awesome.
Well, I hope you have a good evening, man. And always is a pleasure. Just like your seminar, I always learn something when I talk to you. Have a great night.
You too, Myron. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, folks. You're the ones that make this all worth doing. Go over to tappedOutWrestlingPodcast.com and find all of our shows. There's a player with links to every single show we've ever done. There are our affiliate links for Amazon, the Fight app, and the Blue Apron. Purchase some stuff through there and help the guys out. You can find our social media there. You can find links to wherever our podcast is found. Get on in there and subscribe. Go to Pro Wrestling Tees if you'd like to purchase some of the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast wonderful T-shirts. Pro Wrestling Tees is a great company. Look for us at upcoming live shows and come by and say hi. We love our fans and we love what we're doing. Thank you.